Up there on the left, I see a couple of tan animals up there. Those are greater kudu. Now those are females. The reason I know that is because they don't have any horns. Only male kudu have these long, spiraling horns that can get to be roughly 6 feet or so in length. Now the reddish brown animals back there, those are bongo. Bongo are known as the ghosts of the forest, really shy, reclusive, very rarely seen. But both male and female bongo, unlike the kudu, have those horns. Those horns slant backwards. That allows them to pick underbrush very quickly without getting their horns all tangled up and then slowing them down. Friends, we are heading up and over to the Safi River Valley. The Safi River is home to animals that thrive in aquatic ecosystems like the Nile hippopotamus. The thing about hippos, though, they're actually one of the more dangerous animals in Africa. They're very territorial, very protective of their homes and of their families. And they have these long, sharp teeth that they use primarily for defense because they are herbivores. They don't eat any meat, just plants. Now, when spotting for hippos, normally the best place for us to look is going to be just underneath the surface of the water. It keeps them cool out of the hot sun. They can hold their breath for around 5 to 8 minutes. Oh, hello, big teeth. They'll even sleep underwater. They'll kind of naturally just float on up to the surface, take a breath, and sink back down, all without waking up. Now, on the left, those gray birds, those are pink-backed pelicans. During their mating season, the feathers on their backs change, turn a pinkish tan color. They're colonial nesters, though. That means they nest in groups of anywhere from 20 pairs to even up to 500 pairs of pelicans. Wow. But here on the left is Nile Crocodile. They have a bite of around 2,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush the bones of their prey. But they mostly eat smaller things like birds, fish, that are readily available. They're actually pretty aggressive. They're known to attack just about anything, regardless of size, even things as large as they were. Sit down. Make sure that Now, although their jaws are really powerful, they also can be incredibly gentle. They will roll their eggs around in their mouths to incubate them, and while their young are still small, they'll keep them in their mouths to keep them safe. Now the gates here do unfortunately head to the forest. But we're going to keep on going. We're going to head over towards the savannah. See what we can find out here. Now the forest and savannah are very different ecosystems. The forest is really dense and lush vegetation, but the savannah not so much. The savannah is more like a superhighway for millions of different migratory species every year, and it's formed by those same animals. You can see evidence of that all around us. Look at the grasses, they're nice and low thanks to grazers like antelope and gazelle. Vegetation on the trees is up at the very top, a pretty good indicator of how tall the tallest giraffe is. They keep those lower branches picked pretty clean. And on the ground you'll notice things like branches and tree stumps. That's because of larger animals like elephants and rhinos. They'll knock down trees to get the leaf up the top. On the left, all the way to the right, back right, you can see a couple of African wild dogs laying down. They are one of the most efficient hunters in Africa. Their hunts have around a 90% success rate, better than big cats and hyena, because what they do is they hunt as a pack, and they track their prey until it just drops from physical exhaustion. They have this incredible stamina, but because of that, they need a wide range to hunt properly. Habitat loss really negative. Lots of animals out here on the left. The first ones I want to talk about are actually the ones way in the back, though, the brown ones. Those are Sable Antelope. They're actually the emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, but what's really cool about them is when they are given a fight or flight decision, they will almost exclusively choose fight. They're very brave animals. They'll even post up with lions. They use those horns as their primary system of defense. The Hartman's mountain zebra over there on the left, no one really knows why zebra have their stripes, but there are quite a few theories. It could deter insects from biting them. It could confuse predators, but my best guess is it probably has something to do with identification. No two zebra have the same stripe pattern. It is how they tell each other apart. And of course the gray animals back there, those are wildebeest. Wildebeest get their name from an Afrikaans word. Afrikaans is the language of the Dutch people who came to Africa. That word is wildebeest, means wild beast, referring to their long faces. But they take part in the Great Migration. Around 1.5 million wildebeest will migrate together in a single herd. Because they have a very strong herd mentality. It's always herd above individual for the wildebeest. They have set goods in their hooves to make it easier to find their way back if they get lost. When the baby wildebeest is born, it's only about 30 minutes before it has to be up and running to keep up with the rest of the herd. And when they sleep, they even sleep in these rows facing different directions. That way, if something sneaks up on them and they have to bolt, they aren't going to run into each other. The poor wildebeest there on the right, as well as some animals with these small tan ones with the white bellies. Those are Springbok up here. The Springbok are the national animal of South Africa. Lots of sports teams named after them. Makes sense, they're a very athletic antelope. They have a behavior called pronking. From a standing position, they are able to jump 6 feet straight in the air and 13 feet forward in a single leap. And if you look at the very top of the hill, you can just see some big old horns sticking up there. Those are Ankole cattle. Ankole cattle are sometimes called Watusi cattle, after the Watusi tribe who first domesticated them. They're the only domesticated animal that lives on this reserve. Now those horns are really big, really heavy, but they are not quite as heavy as you think. They are hollow on the inside. They have a honeycomb structure to them. They circulate blood through their horns. It helps them to regulate their body temperature and cools them down. Now coming up here on the left, I see some eland as well as some giraffe. I'm going to talk about the eland first, because that big old gray one, he's the male, and he's kind of a bit of a fan favorite among safari drivers. But eland are the largest antelopes in the world. That big old gray one, he actually can get to be roughly 6 feet tall, with shoulders and 2,000 pounds. Pretty massive. Now, of course, you can see that whole tower of a Maasai giraffe. Giraffe are born at around 6 feet tall, get to be 16 to 20 feet, making them the world's tallest land animal. Now, of course, they're famous for that long neck, but they would need something pretty powerful to pump their blood all the way up their neck to their brains. Their heart is one of the largest among land animals. Their heart is around 2 feet wide and 25 pounds. They also have the highest blood pressure of any animal.
Their heart is 2 feet long and is 25 pounds. That's half of what you weigh.
We're going to dip back into the jungle for just a hot second. On our way towards elephant country. We're on the right. Maybe get another view over here. Over there. Now, the reason I'm pretty sure that that's a male is because he's by himself. After around 15 years or so of living with their mothers, male elephants go off on their own, and they live solitary or in small and loose bachelor herds. Now, although males go off on their own, they never stray too far from female herds, both for breeding purposes and also because the females know where all the food and water is, so it's easier to just follow them instead of trying to figure it out for themselves. Female elephants live in larger familial herds, and they are led by their matriarch, so the oldest and most dominant female in the herd. She knows where all the food and water is, so she's the one who leads her herd, and she'll actually take the younger elephant under her wing and train her to become the next matriarch. That's how they pass on knowledge from generation to generation.
I see a big herd of elephants. Look at them, do you see them?
Female elephants will have one calf every 4 to 5 years. And elephant pregnancies usually have a gestation period of around 22 months, almost 2 full years of being pregnant. It makes sense when you think about it though. When you have a larger animal like an elephant or a rhino even, they have a long gestation period as well. Usually they don't really have any natural predators. So the way that their population naturally stays in check is by having a low birth rate. But that's also why things like habitat loss and poaching affect them so much. They aren't able to repopulate their species at a necessary rate to keep up with it.
Look, there's one taking a bath. Look, taking a bath. What is this one? We have to
Here on the left, there is a whole flamboyance of greater flamingo. Greater flamingo are the largest of any of the flamingo species and also the lightest color pink. And they get that pink coloring from their diet. All the brain shrimp that they eat is really rich in a protein called beta-carotene. You get that coloring over time though. They're actually gray when they first hatch. You can see a couple of younger ones still have a bit of that coloring. They have to sustain that pigmentation as well. It's not like once they're pink forever. If they were to go off of that diet, they would turn back to that white and gray. Now, on the left, you can see some Scimitar-Horned Oryx there. They're actually really amazing. They're native to the Sahara regions. They're really well built for hot and arid climates. In fact, they will not break a sweat until their internal body temperature reaches 115 degrees Fahrenheit. And they can go up to around 9 months without a single drop of water. Now, unfortunately, they are considered extinct in the wild, but there is some good news. There have actually been some really successful reintroduction efforts for them over in Chad, trying to get them back into their natural habitats. I actually do see a cheetah up on the left. It's kind of hard to point out. But if you look where the rocks are right in the center of that clearing, look right above them in the little tree grove. There are a couple of cheetah there. And cheetah are the fastest land animals in the entire world. They can reach speeds of around 60 miles an hour. And they go 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. But they don't keep the speed for long. They're sprinters rather than long distance runners. They really only go that top speed for roughly the length of an American football field. Now the thing is with cheetah, although they're very, very fast, they are not very strong. They are built for speed and not power, and hunting's kind of an issue for them. It takes a lot of energy for a cheetah to even attempt to catch its prey, and on top of that, their success rate isn't very good. It's only around 15%. Well, let's say a cheetah gets lucky and catches its prey, but then it's approached by a larger predator, like a lion, looking to yoink their prey from them. They're gonna back off. They know that they can't win that fight, so they're just gonna go off and try again. So what cheetah have done to help reduce this competition is they have adapted to hunt during the daytime. Most larger predators, lions included, hunt at night, whereas cheetah hunt during the day, which is why they have those tear marks on their faces. Keeps the glare of the sun out of their eyes. Now there are some lions on the left, but before I talk about them, I want to talk about the rhino up here on the right. I'm going to draw your attention up on the right there. You see some white rhino. Now white rhino get their name from mistranslation actually. It comes from the Afrikaans bite, W-I-T, White means wide. Not white versus their wide and broad mouth. Unfortunately, white rhinos do suffer the same threat that other rhinos around the world face, which is poaching. Rhino horn is highly valued on the underground trade market because some cultures believe. Make sure we sit down for me. Sit down for me, ma'am. Rhinos all around the world face poaching because the rhino horn is highly valued in the underground trade market.
I see, they're lions.
Some cultures believe that it may hold a medicinal property. That's not true. Rhino horn is made up of keratin, the same material that our hair and fingernails are made of. These lions here on the left, lions like to use these copy rocks as places to sleep, sunbathe, and look out for prey. Lions will remain inactive. They sleep, they rest, they just kind of hang out for around 18 to 20 hours out of the whole day. They have plenty of energy to go out hunting at night, and it is the female members of the lion prides that do the hunting. The male's job is to stay back, guard their territory, and protect their cubs. But of course, we know that the male is a male because he has that big fluffy mane. But a male lion's mane thickness and darkness is directly related to his dominance and his pride. The thicker and darker his mane is, the more dominant the lion, and it has to do with the amount of testosterone in their bodies. Now over on the right, I do see some ostrich hanging out over kind of this warden truck. Ostrich are the world's largest bird, but despite having wings, they cannot fly. After around 40 miles an hour. In fact, ostrich have what I like to call the rule of 40. It makes things really easy to remember. You can run at around 40 miles an hour. Their eggs take about 40 days to incubate. They can live to around 40 years old. Now those are females. I know that because their feathers are gray. Male ostrich have black feathers. That's actually really common in birds for males and females to look different. In general, if you have two members of the same bird species and one is really bright and one's really dull, 9 times out of 10 the dull one is the female. The male has to have those bright or interesting feathers to impress the female and convince her that he's the one she should mate with. Now we are entering Magadi Glen, home to Wilson's new warden post. He actually very recently started raising Nigerian dwarf goats, which are the cutest goats in the entire world. They're absolutely precious. They never get any larger than this. They're fully curled. But they're actually really good for both the environment and the local population. They like to eat a weedy undergrowth that most other animals don't touch, which is really great for the local plant life and for farmers of their pastures. But also their milk is super high in protein. So it's really great for the local population. They will drink it, make cheese with it, cook with it. It's a great source of nutrition for them. They're also just really fun to look at. The gates here do unfortunately mark the edge of the reserve and therefore the end of our time together, but we were lucky. We saw lots of awesome animals out there. Unfortunately, though, many of those animals are endangered, but we can help them, and it doesn't take some big grand gesture. A little really does go a long way. We can start by just simply recycling whatever we can, especially plastic. Plastic is really terrible for the environment because it does not biodegrade or break down, so it winds up in oceans and landfills and stays there for an extremely long time. So it's really important to recycle plastic, but the thing is, not all types of plastic can be recycled very easily, and the ones that can be recycled can only be recycled 2 times. So what I think is even more effective is thinking on plastic usage altogether with little things like reusable water bottles, reusable silverware, reusable bags are really important. They also make these really cool reusable straws that collapse down into the sides of the keychain. I have one. I absolutely love it. I think it's super convenient. I like to get coffee sometimes on my way into work, and now I don't have a bunch of straw rubbers all around my car, so definitely recommend. There's little things we all can do to make a big impact.